Hello, YouTube, and welcome to our first Season 11 video. It is I, your host, Cosmos, and today we are going to talk about Season 11 items, the little new changes that have come in. It's been a few days since the patch came out on Tuesday. Today I'm recording on Saturday. You guys should be seeing this on Sunday, the week after the patch dropped. So I've had a little bit of time to really understand item changes, and I guess we'll go over some god changes too for how the season is starting out for me. We might revisit this in a little bit just in case the meta shakes out a different way than how I see it, but this is just my opinions on the stuff right now. I'm going to try and go as in-depth as possible so you guys will know like what items are good, what items are bad, and when you want to build any or all of the said items. And yeah, it's going to be a good time. So let's get right into it. Pull up the patch notes on screen here. We're not going to be talking about any of like the like conquest changes or anything. This is going to be mainly based around Joust, as it normally is on the channel. Though you can definitely apply like most of the stuff I say to whatever you decide to do in the Smite game. So first thing that's happening to items are no more recipes. Great, fantastic. But they're going to be sprinkling in the more popular recipes into some shards here. So if you guys haven't really been playing at all, and you're just, get into your weekend grind or whatnot, haven't touched the new season for one reason or another, they are removing Claw Shard and Carapace Shard, along with removing all recipes from the game. And some of the more popular stuff, though, like you might be saying, oh no, Golden Gooseberries is gone. You now have a Golden Shard, which is going to kind of be like a Golden Gooseberries. Gooseberries does, or did, 50% damage AoE, and Golden Shard is going to do 25% damage AoE. But this is going to be a shard, so you can get it from level 1, you keep that until level 12 and you buy your new relic, right? And it's going to have a passive effect, so you don't have to activate anything, you just get straight up 25% AoE damage when you're clearing the wave with your basic attack. So super nice for like your Ho-Yis, your On-Hers, characters that have to kind of like walk up to clear the wave, and you can't all the time get up there to use your clear ability, so you're just sitting there autoing and having that AoE damage without having to do the quest 1 and the quest 2 to get your gooseberries. Gonna feel really nice for them. Same kind of thing with Sturdy Shard here. Sturdy Shard, Sturdy Stew. It's going to be a passive effect. Don't have to do any of the quests. But it's going to be a 20-second cooldown. Still a really powerful effect, though. 5 protections in an aura, +1 per level. And when you get Heartsea Seed. So, another passive shard. Keep in mind, if you go these shards, you're not going to be able to go Wing Shard. You're not going to be able to go Horn Shard. So you have to, figure out whether you want to go one of these or not. These are both solid shards. Solid options to go depending on your character. And then there's Vibrant Shard, which is just kind of like Party Punch. Insect that's much weaker. This shard is actually kind of lame from the testing I've done with it, because Party Punch scales off of your power, so it does a lot more damage later on. And when it was a recipe, let's say you're like a mage, right? You build Book of Thoth and all that other jazz with a bunch of power, Mirrored In Shard, Soul Reaver, and you replace your Party Punch at like level 20. So by the time you're selling your recipe to get your last item, your Party Punch is hitting for like 80. It's hitting pretty darn hard. But as a shard, you're selling this guy at level 12. And also they reduced, I believe, the damage it deals, like in comparison to the Party Punch, since you get it immediately. Kind of like how they did the same thing to Golden Shard. So Vibrant Shard is kind of lame. I would very much prefer going just like a Horn Shard. This Horn Shard's still in the game. But yeah, that's my current thoughts on Vibrant Shard. We'll see if that changes. Because, level 12, your Party Punch is probably hitting for like 20, maybe 30. And, probably have gotten better use out of a Horn Shard. But, yeah. Another big change that's happening to items is relics. You don't have to upgrade them with gold anymore. You can still upgrade them with gold, but now it's kind of got like the recipe system on there, but 2 different quests. So your first relic and second relic will have 2 separate types of quests that you'll need to complete to upgrade them. So the first relic, you need to kill or assist 140 minions to get it from T1 to T2, and they get it from T2 to T3. You need to deal damage or crowd control enemy gods 90 different times with being able to get 1 stack per second. And then your second relic follows the same ideology as upgrading your first relic, but it's less. So instead of killer assists on 140 minions, it's killer assists on 80. And instead of damage, instances of damage or crowd control to gods, 90 times, it's 60 times. And from the testing I've done so far, it takes forever to do the first relic, and it takes not very long to do the second relic. I've actually had the second relic get finished before the first relic many, many times. So one thing I've actually started doing is, like, if I'm going like Osiris and I want to go like Blink and Beads, I'll actually get Beads first, and then when I hit level 12, I'll upgrade my Blink immediately upon purchase to get the T1 to T2, and then I'll only have to do the 60 instances of damage because I want to get my Blink upgraded more than I want to get my Beads upgraded. So I can kind of like really get that T3 Blink much quicker if I purchase it in the second slot. So a little bit of tech to mess around with those relics. It's kind of interesting, but more often than not, if you're a support and you like really want to upgrade your relic, like you need a Phantom Shell really bad, you're probably just going to buy it. You need a Bracer really bad, you're going to buy it. But if you're a carry and you're buying like Beads Aegis every game, you can just, get your relics for free over the course of, 15, 20 minutes. And it'll be very nice. You can save some money. They are overhauling, or did overhaul, a lot of the new relics with this new season. Kind of just like removing 1/2 of the relic upgrades. So like Aegis of Judgment is gone, Aegis of Acceleration is in. So every relic only has like one fully upgraded choice to go. And then they kind of like shifted around, kind of like with the removing the recipes, they shifted around some of the effects that got removed. Like you lose Aegis of Judgment, and we'll see later where that got moved to. Well, because that got removed. Aegis of Judgment got removed. So we kept Aegis of Acceleration, we kept Scorching Blink Rune, and now Scorching Blink Rune. They kind of like melded the two blinks into one. It gives a attack speed slow and a movement speed slow when you hit somebody with the flames, which is actually kind of crazy. So Scorching Blink, already a really good item, incredibly better now. Very, very strong item. Been loving building this guy. Bracer of Radiance, they got rid of the one where it like scans in a line. Big surprise, but we'll see how that got put into the game later, won't we? So there's only one Bracer. Med, they got rid of Knockup Med. So surprised. Heavenly Wings, they actually got rid of a Hastened Sprint, which I was kind of sad about. Hastened Sprint's super fun relic. Really nice making plays with that guy. And they gave attack speed to Sprint because they actually removed Frenzy. So that was actually kind of lame. They removed Frenzy and Curse Donk. Curse Donk will be added kind of in, but Frenzy, like, there's no DPS increase relic now in terms of like damage percent unless you're buying Sunder. But Heavenly Wings will gain the attack speed that Frenzy used to give. 10% at the first tiers and then 25% at the last tier. Haven't really noticed it, and it's still Sprout now instead of being able to buy Hastened. So this one's been kind of lame, but like Bracer's still the same, Med's basically still the same, Blink is a little bit better, but it's not that much different. And Aegis, I mean, you just don't have the exploding Aegis, which is honestly more annoying to play against than anything. Horrific got a massive buff. So they got rid of Ankh, and they put Ankh onto Horrific, which is crazy. So they removed the attack speed slow on Horrific, but gave it the Ankh effect, the anti-heal, as well as the reducing shield effectiveness by 50%. So at tier 3, this guy maintains like the passive that Ankh had, where people that are Ankhed, as they deal more damage to a single target, they'll actually deal less damage to that same target. It maintains that, loses the attack speed slow, keeps the normal slow, as well as new effect, gains this anti-heal, gains this anti-shield, and reduces 75% of any shield that is already on the character. So it does like 5 different things. This relic is absolutely insane right now. It's your anti-heal, it's your slow, it's your anti-shield, it reduces damage, and it reduces shields that are applied after the fact, and it's a 5-second effect. The only like bad thing it's got going on, besides obviously it's a little bit shorter now, is the range of the horrific is a little smaller. So it's a lot harder to apply this to like an entire team. Like say if an E-Shell's ulting and you wanted to in the past hit her with a drowned donk and like screw her entire team, now those pools are spawning everywhere now. So it is like slightly worse than Onk in terms of preventing healing, but it just does so many things. This relic is just absolutely broken. You kind of like have to have one of these on your team every game. It's just really, really good. Shell, they removed a fortifying shell, so they still have phantom shell. Beads, they removed the chaotic beads. Nobody's building that garbage. And thorns, remember how we were talking about how Aegis of Judgment got removed? They're actually putting like that exploding Aegis effect onto thorns. So instead of returning damage when you hit someone's thorns, now that guy that pops the thorns is going to get 15% damage mitigation. And he's going to like store up damage that he's hit with during the thorns and explode. So I've had this thing hit the Titan for like 700. I've had it hit a god for as much as like, I think it was 507. It's pretty good. It can't be very good. It's not like a absolutely broken need to have this. I've seen varying opinions on whether this item is like incredibly strong or incredibly weak. And I think it's in a pretty good spot. It might need like a slightly longer cooldown because you do have access to it very often. They maintained the thing where if you get basic attacked by an enemy, the cooldown goes down by half a second. So if you build this with like Relic Dagger, it goes from 120 base to 70 base. And then you get auto attacked like 10 times, you know. It starts to get a pretty low darn little cooldown there. It's like a bracer. So yeah, Thorns is pretty good. Really big fan of going in. I've been playing like Guan Yu and Cerberus because Thorns does magical damage. So you like put some shred on somebody and then you Thorns them. So like I play Guan Yu, I hit him with the Taolu, and then I pop my Thorns, get on my horse, and start cutting them down. And if I'm getting hit by like a Phoenix, for example, I'm getting hit by like, you know, maybe some Zhong ult is coming through at the same time. Maybe a tank like a Kukulkan tornado, you know, and then my Thorn just goes bop. It's pretty darn big damage at times. I got some nice clips for that we'll be putting up in the YouTube shorts over the next few days for you guys to like see how these items are interacting and maybe give you some inspiration as to build paths to go. But Thorns is in a pretty good spot. The one thing that makes it nice for the carries that are playing against the Thorns now is you can Aegis it a lot easier. Because instead of just returning the damage that you're dealing, it like has that Aegis of Judgment effect where you see the pulsating thing coming out and then it pops when it gets to the edge. So you can Aegis this guy. So if you're a Thorns user, you need to be a lot more cautious of, you know, trying to get some CC on a guy that you want a Thorns so that he doesn't just Aegis it, / use a jump away or dash away. And if you're a carry, you gotta like keep track of when this thing's gonna blow up so you can, you know, be able to properly react to it. But overall, I think it's a good change to Thorns. Sundering, Spear, they're keeping the Exploding Sunder. Big surprise. The other one was kind of lame. Teleport, we don't really build that unless we're in Conquest. But, you know, nice little thing. You're still probably going to buy this the same time as you buy it. New Relic, Divine Barrier. I had a lot of hopes for this guy. Basically what it does, it's kind of like a Thoth Wall. But, so it deploys a 40 unit wide wall of Divine Light that reduces the damage of all enemy basic attacks that pass through it by 30%, and enemies who pass through the barrier are slowed by 30%. Lasts for 30 seconds, is on a very low cooldown. You can't really deploy this very far, though. It can deploy, I want to say, like, maybe like 15 units max in front of you, which is a very short range. Like, it's about, I would say, like, the range of, like, a Thor 3. The radius of a Thor 3. That you can deploy this. So it's pretty small deploy range, and it can have a very powerful effect here, reducing damage from enemy basic attacks. So if you're against, like, you know, heavy auto attack damage from perhaps like an Ishtar or a Hachiman, as well as like a Soul on the same team, could be pretty nice. The T3, it gains a better effect where it increases the damage of allied basic attacks that come through it by 10%. And I'm going to be completely honest with you guys. This looks like super broken, or has the potential to be super broken. But the testing I've done with it, it seemed a bit lackluster. I think you really need to build a comp around utilizing every single effect of this relic to make it really useful. because honestly, the strongest part about it is that enemies that pass through it are slowed by a significant 30% here. But why do that when you can just buy Horrific with 5 different effects on it? So, yeah, that's kind of the point I'm at with Divine Barrier. It just, I don't know, hard to use. You really have to get everyone on the same page to use this guy correctly. But if you guys have any like new strats you found with Divine Barrier, you really like this guy, I'm more than happy to hear you out. Maybe I'll have to test it myself. So let me know in the comments if you've got any ideas with this guy. Moving on, we've got consumables. We've got the new Proximity Ward, 2 different new wards. Proximity Ward, you throw it down, and when somebody like passes over it or passes near it, it'll actually explode in the next over the next 1.5 seconds, and any enemy that's caught in the radius of the explosion, which is 45 units, pretty darn wide, they'll be slowed by 20% for 3 seconds, and they'll be revealed for 10 seconds. So really good against like invisible characters. I've seen this and used this ward mainly aggressively or defensively for some peel. Usually you don't just like place this like a normal ward and then like get vision of somebody and slow them like when you're not anywhere near them. You can use this like, you kind of just use it as an extra ability. Like a mini Horrific, let's say. And it can work really well against those invisible targets. Like let's say an Ao Kuang goes on you, you drop this at your feet when he starts going on you, and it pops on him. He can't like one away comfortably, because you'll be able to see him for the next 10 seconds. Or like you do it to a Loki, right? When you're chasing him down. And if he gets tagged by this, it's like you have like an Erendite on him. But you don't get the movement speed, right? You just can see him for 10 seconds. So it can be very useful aggressively or defensively. Either for peel or to chase somebody down. That's what I've seen this mainly used for. And that's what I've been using it mainly for. You kind of just buy it very situationally when you feel like it could be useful. Got some clips for that too coming your guys' way in the YouTube shorts. The other ward they added is the Raven ward. It's kind of like the bracer that they removed, the one that was able to see in like a long line, depending on where you placed it. So you kind of just like throw this guy and it travels 500 units. Put that into perspective, the max range on like a Janus portal is 100 units. So think of like a max range Janus portal times 5. Pretty darn big. Super useful for like if you want to check the Bull Demon King, or if you're like when you don't have a ward on it, like you're coming out of base, you want to make sure that they're not doing it. You just toss that guy down the lane. Or, you know, you're playing a carry character and, like, the corner ahead of you isn't warded. And you want to make sure that you're not going to get ganked. So you toss the Raven. So, really nice, once again, super situational ward to get. Both these wards cost 75 gold. Super useful items. I love these additions. Very fun to use. The next really big change to items is they did some lifesteal reworking on across the board. So, basically, 50% less lifesteal off of minions, 50% more lifesteal off of gods is what I've pretty much been seeing here. Actually, no, they said right here, in essence, this will decrease lifesteal on minions by 25% while increasing lifesteal on gods by 50%. So you're going to heal a significantly less amount off of minions, but a lot more off of gods. Also, you can build more lifesteal. So you guys are lifesteal builders, good for you. I probably would, you know, keep my build pretty normal and not build a whole lot of lifesteal, but the option is there if you want to. And now we get into like actual items that are getting added to the game and changed around. They did a whole lot of stuff to different lifesteal items, like you see down here. You see Cowl has increased lifesteal overall, so they do some weird stuff. Like they decrease the lifesteal you get, but they also like buffed every single item to have more lifesteal on it. Really strange. But yeah, that's the world we live in. New item, Crimson Claws. This one is a really interesting one. I thought this was gonna be like Omega Broken, but have not seen it be too Omega Broken in the games I've played. So this guy is in the same tree as Soul Eater. It costs 2550 gold, which is very expensive. Items that compare to it are like Aussie and Devos, and those both cost 2400, which is already relatively expensive, right? For like a really solid lifesteal item. And this guy's going to give you 50 power, 20% attack speed, 15% lifesteal, which is less than Aussie and less than Devos. A significant amount less than both of them. But it's going to give you a very nice passive that will give you a health shield if you are full health and you're hitting things and, you know, you're life stealing. So instead of getting no life steal, you'll just get like a little health shield that goes up to 15% of your health, which can absorb like a whole ability in some cases, like a whole Osiris sickle or a whole Osiris 2 or, you know, an Erlong pin. Like it can take a hit for sure. But in my testing, if you really want this item to be useful, you need like multiple sources of lifesteal, like a Crimson Claws and a Leader's Cowl, or like a Crimson Claws and an Aussie, or like a Crimson Claws and a Devos. And like the only combination that's like really realistic, in my opinion, is Crimson Claws and Leader's Cowl. And to get that, you gotta wait till level 20. So like, with this as your only lifesteal item, it just feels so negligible. Like, because you want to build your lifesteal early, right? But this item is incredibly expensive, and you're not really feeling this passive until you get that second lifesteal item. So, Claws is in a really awkward spot for me. I feel like if this item is to enter the meta, it would be like you'd go like Aussie and Cowl at the start of your build, and then you'd build Crimson Claws like at the very end of your build. Like say you go Cowl, you go Aussie, you go Xe Dom, Chins, and then your sixth item is Claws. Like that makes sense to me. But is that really worth going over like more pen in your sixth thought? Like you could get an Oboe, you could get a Titan's Bane, you could get like a single item crit through a Demon Blade. Like I'm not so sure. So right now I'm pretty sold on Crimson Claws not being the best, but I'm definitely open to new things if I see, you know, someone put together this really crazy build with Crimson Claws and it starts popping off. So yeah, well, had a lot of high hopes for this item, and it's kind of fallen short for me, but who knows? They could do some kind of tweak here and there that'll make it really useful. I could see it really find value if it gets even the smallest tweak in the positive direction. Like if they reduce the cost on this guy to like $24.50 or something, I might just start building it. But as it stands, a little bit too expensive, and you want to build lifesteal early, and it doesn't feel very good early. So, moving on. We're just going to scroll through most of these. It's just like little lifesteal buffs. Nothing major. Overall, you're going to be lifestealing quite a bit less from minions, right? They said 25% less from minions, 50% more from gods through all these changes. But they buffed a bunch of lifesteal stats on gods and items to kind of achieve that 25% less on minions and 50% more on gods. And it does, you very much notice it. Like on when you're trying to lifesteal off a minion, bro, feels terrible. Let me tell you. When you hit a god, like it's much harder to notice that increased lifesteal, because honestly, like usually when you're lifestealing off of a god, you're getting hit back. So it's kind of hard to notice. They did rework a Rejuvenating Heart here. You now, instead of what it did before, I think, is you stored up like a really big heal with the passive. And now, instead, you lifesteal off of enemy gods. Or when you lifesteal off of enemy gods, you heal yourself and your teammates that are close to you. And I'm going to be honest with you guys, this item's a flop. Don't even look at it. We're just going to keep scrolling. These are all the magical changes, increased lifesteal. Once again, that's minus 25% about lifesteal on minions, plus 50% about lifesteal on gods. So overall, a lifesteal nerf, I would say. But the next interesting thing, very interesting thing, is they changed how stacking items work. With stacking items where you have to last hit a minion to get the stack. So that's Devourer's Gauntlet, Transcendence, Book of Thoth, and Warlock Staff. So now instead of getting last hits on minions to get stacks, you need to deal damage to gods or minions to get stacks. And when you hit enemy gods, you'll actually get double the contribution in terms of damage towards your stacks. So, for example, Devourer's Gauntlet, you need to deal 30,000 damage to gods or minions. If I exclusively hit gods and I deal 15,000 damage, I'll get the max stacks. So, pretty interesting. Pretty awesome. It allows you to build these items now. You can build them in Assault now. Because, you know, I guess the big limiter for Assault was they didn't want you to be stacking items when there's only one minion wave for everyone. And so it become, like, you know, a big problem if people are going stacking items. So, with this change, you can now build all these in Assault. Very fun. Great for you Assault guys. Devourer's Gauntlet is a very interesting choice now. This might be buildable in Joust. But I've only tried it like once, and I feel like you really do need the attack speed in Joust because it's so early game driven. The new Joust map, which is now the Jade Corruption map, is very, very snowball oriented. Like your death timer gets up to like 40 seconds, 50 seconds by like 10 minutes in that game mode. So you need your power spikes as early as possible, and Devourer's Gauntlet does not help with that. So probably not building this guy, but definitely nice for you conk guys to build that Devourer's Gauntlet. And in any mode where, you know, it's not too rushed to snowball. I personally, out of like the 3 lifesteal items, Devourer's Gauntlet, Aussie, and Crimson Claws, those are like the 3 big lifesteal items that you're going to build as a hunter player when you're looking for, you know, your first item, main source of lifesteal. And I've found Aussie is the most consistent because Claws we went over, too expensive, Devos takes too long, Aussie is just right for me. So I'm doing Aussie, but let me know what you guys think in the comments of which lifesteal items you like more, or if you build multiple of them in one build, and you know, we'll find out together which one's the best one. Transcendence got a little bit of change as well. You need to deal 35,000 damage. Pretty much the same item, except they changed the cooldown. It's now, instead of 10% cooldown when you stack this guy, it's 10 pen. So that's an interesting one. Book of Thoth, they changed it a little bit. The funny thing about this item is they actually buffed Book of Thoth in terms of like the stacks you need, or the stats you get when you finish this. I believe it was you get 530 mana from Season 10 Book of Thoth, and now you get 600 mana. But you do need to get 100 stacks instead of 75, but with how stacking works now, you know, you just need to deal damage. It's a little bit weird. So, yeah, they buffed Book of Thoth, and they shifted Warlock's staff. So I believe before, Warlocks gave you 150 health. Now when you fully stack this thing, it gives you 400 health. But there is a catch. Instead of getting 110 power overall, you now get 80 power. So this is an 80 power, I believe it's 200 mana, 400 health, and 10% pen. So a lot of stats, but only 80 power. That's like Chronos Pendant levels of power. That's pretty bad. So, yeah, even like Ethereal Staff is more health than this, or has more power than this. Ethereal Staff is 90 power, dude, and 200 health. And when you steal health late game with Ethereal Staff, you're getting like 200. So you can get up to Warlock's Staff health and 1 stack of E-Staff and get more power, though you are losing 10% pen. So maybe you could get away with this on like a bruiser character. Like you go like, you know, a Zhong Kui, and you really want to get that tankiness stat up. But in my opinion and from my testing, not a big fan of Warlocks. I think it's kind of bad now. Like, if they had kept Warlocks the same as it was before, with like the low health but the high power and the high pen, I think this item would have been meta. Like 110 power, Warlock Staff with the 150 health. That would have actually been good. But for whatever reason, they decided to make it a health hybrid, lowish power, high health item. Don't know why, but I don't like it. They did add back some very cool stuff here. Revived items. We got Void Shield and Void Domaru, which is basically just Void Stone. So if you guys have played, or old-time Smite players, you'll know about these guys. They have aura protection reductions on them. And they're very good, very fun. From the testing I've done, these have been the most fun items to build, I would say. Because they just increase your damage as a tank. Tank items, tank relics, super, super fun. I've definitely been having the most fun playing tanks and testing out new builds on them. Because just like most seasons, the relics and item choices seem to be geared towards tanky characters. Because, you know, if you think about it, mages and hunters have been building like the same pool of like 10 items for the past forever. But tanks, you got like 20 plus different items that you can choose from, and they switch out in terms of viability all the time. So Void Shield, Void Domaru, super good items. Definitely check these guys out. Blackthorn Hammer got added back, but this one kind of sucks. Falls very far short of the Void Shield. Just look at the stats on it. 250 health. Kind of bad. This is kind of just like a bad Rune Forged, in my opinion. It gives the same old Blackthorn passive, costs 2350, gives 35 power and very minimal health. So, I'm a Blackthorn hater. Void item lover, Blackthorn hater. And also you can build both these void items and any character you want, because it doesn't have any power on it now. And now it just has straight up protection, health, and some sustain. Protection, health, some sustain. So, really good on the void items, bad on the Blackthorn. Build these, don't build that. Okay. New item, Devoted Deathbringer. This thing was super broken, but this is incorrect what it says on the glyph here. They didn't really, I don't think they put anywhere that it got updated. In game, this is a new glyph for Deathbringer. It increases your critical strike chance by 30% is what it says here, but it's actually nerfed in the live game right now. It increases your critical strike chance by 25%. Or, you know what 1.3x is. Now it only 1.25x is your crit. So, like, if you build 100% crit, this will add 30% onto your 100. If you build 50% crit, this would add 15% extra crit onto you. So it's like a multiplier for your crit. And then for every 5% crit you go over 100%, you gain 10 fizz power. So this was extremely broken in PTS, but this has been nerfed to, like I said, it's now 1.25x to your crit chance. And for every 5% you go over 100, you actually only gain 5 physical power. So cut in half. So this item got super gutted. Praise the Lord. This thing was going to be omega broken. Luckily, you have to invest a lot of item slots into making this item useful to make it like actually good. So like you got to get Ornate Arrow, you got to get like Boomerang, you got to play like Circuit to get the passive crit. Like you got to do a lot of things just to make this useful, and it's not very good in terms of the second part of this passive, gaining extra power. But this item is definitely worth building just for that first part. It is notable that you still have red Deathbringer in the game. So like if you're planning on getting a glyph, you might or the glyph of Deathbringer, you might as well, you know, if your character's not a good red Deathbringer user, like if you're not Hou-Yi or On Her or Circuit, like let's say you're Jing Wei, I don't really care too much about getting cooldown refunds on her, or like Hachiman, you could go Devoted Deathbringer now, and that increase to your crit chance is worth getting. It's just not like super broken as it says here now anymore. So you kind of just build like a normal hunter build, and then you build this guy and get a little bit of extra crit basically for 600 gold. And you don't lose out because you can build as many glyphs as you want in this season, which I am a big fan of. And you will definitely be building this Envenomed Executioner as a hunter player because read what it does. It's basically Envenomed Deathbringer, but you don't have to crit, and it's on your Executioner instead of your Deathbringer. So you're going to get this in any hunter build, and I've been building this on warriors too, like Bellona and Osiris and Erlang Shen, stuff like that. Auto attack warriors, Amaterasu. And you will reduce healing by 40%, as well as reduce shields applied on things you hit by 50%. And unlike Envenomed Deathbringer, where you needed to crit to get that effect, you literally just need to hit somebody. You can tag him with a basic attack, you can tag him with an ability, and this thing will be on him. So basically what I'm telling you is Nike is dead. Between like Horrific Emblem, Envenomed Exy, Erosion, Sunder, shield characters are doomed. So this is an incredibly strong glyph. I think it's probably the strongest glyph that I've been playing with since Season 11 dropped. Now I'm going on to general items. Mannequin Scepter. This item sucks. Don't need to worry about that at all. They basically just swapped around Eye of the Jungle and Mannequin Scepter. So this now gives attack speed instead of Fizz Prot. And they add a little bit more attack speed onto Hidden Blade, a little bit more attack speed onto Mannequin Maze, then it's still bad. Eye of the Jungle, they took away the attack speed and gave it Fizz Prot. Kind of lame, but, you know, still about the same. Protector of the Jungle gave that Fizz Prot as well instead of the attack speed, right? Spartan Flag? I've actually been really liking this item recently because now they've made it, instead of giving power, it gives protections. So it gives the same stats as War Banner and also gives a little bit more attack speed. So this thing gives 10% extra power, 15% attack speed, has the same stats as War Banner. And if you've seen this thing use, Spartan Flag, it has a really big area of effect. So Spartan Flag and War Banner are both very good. War Banner definitely has a higher potential as an item to get value for your team. But in my experience, I've found that War Banner can be a little tricky to use consistently. Like, you're not always able to get those stacks on it. So Spartan Flag is a much more consistent version of War Banner with now actually having tank stats. So I've been really enjoying Spartan Flag. You guys should definitely test it out if you haven't already. It's basically just like a really big bracer that's on a 10-second cooldown, and it lasts for 10 seconds. So it's basically infinite uptime if you're staying in a fight, dealing damage. That will give your team 15% attack speed, 10% power. So yeah, mini bracer. But instead of movement speed, it gives you attack speed. So very cool. Definitely mess around with this guy. I've been liking it a lot. Dawnbringer just got like a little extra power, lost a little health. So they're making these hammer items a bit more aggressive. So if you're building it on like a jungler, trying to do some more damage can be nice. Or like an assassin, but you want a little bit of a tankier option, can be very nice. If you're playing Erlong Shen and you're building Runeforged hammer, you got a little bit more power for a little bit more gold, but a little less health. Very good. Really big fan of the Runeforged. The items themselves don't really change very much, but feels good. Feels good if you're building these and you want to do some more damage. They decrease the internal cooldown on Frostbound from 8 to 5. Same thing to Gem, same thing to Shadow Drinker. These items haven't really changed that much. About the same. This one, though, Mystical Mail. This is one of my favorite changes so far this season. Increase the fist prop by a little bit, decrease the gold by a little bit, but the big one is they increase the damage per level from 1 to 1.5. So at level 20, this thing will deal 50 damage instead of 40 damage. I found it incredibly useful on characters that have protection shreds. I've seen so many 50 damage Mystical Mail procs in the past few days, guys. It's amazing. I've been playing Guan Yu and Cerberus with this item, and the amount of damage you're able to output with a yellow numbers build, like Mystical Mail, Exploding Pridwin, the new Thorns, Flame Blink, like, it's amazing. You get that, you get Stone of Binding, and you just explode people, bro. It is so fun. Definitely mess around with Mystical Mail. I've been straight up rushing this guy right out the gate. My build kind of is like Mystical Mail, Void Domaru, which is the new like Void Stone, gives magical protection reduction, which, is so good for Mystical, which does magical damage, Thorns, which does magical damage, Pridwin, which does magical damage. Amazing stuff. So it's Mystical Mail, Void Domaru, Pridwin, the explosive one, Stone of Binding, and a situational last item with your starter, which can be Warrior's Axe or more, yellow numbers, or you can build like a support starter if you're the Cerberus, like the War Flag with that Spartan Flag or whatever you want to do. Really fun. Great item. Highly recommend. Try it out. Shogun's Kasari, they shifted this one a little bit, removed the cooldown, but gave it 10% attack speed. I definitely liked the cooldown more, but kind of whatever. You're still going to build this on the same characters you were building it on before. Transcendence, we talked about this before. It now gives 10 pen instead of cooldown. Pythags, dead item, we don't care about that. Potion of Power gives 10 pen instead of 10% cooldown, so it actually is very much a strat to go a Potion of Power at level 10 now. I think Potion of Power is incredibly useful, especially in Joust. As I was talking about earlier, Joust is on the Jade Corruption map now, which has much longer death timers at an earlier minute. So that makes the early game of Joust matter a lot more, which gives Potion of Power a very, very strong spot in the meta, because you can get this guy really early, especially with the pacing of the Jade Corruption map. You gain levels now a lot faster than you did on the Chinese map. So like, you're actually finishing your starter before you finish your entire build now, because you hit level 20 so fast. And then of course that means you hit level 10 a lot faster too, so you're getting this Potion of Power, the access to it a lot quicker. And so if like your entire team builds this guy and nobody on the other team builds this guy, you could find yourself in a very advantageous position. Potion of Power, very good item. 10 pen, really, really strong. So definitely mess around with this guy. It's going to be quite impactful. God Balance, well, I'll just briefly go over this stuff since it's here. This is mainly going to be an item recording, but we can just look at this. Dodgy got a little buff. Lina got a little buff. Tsukiyomi got a little extra healing. Ardio got a 2-second decrease on her 3, which is good, but character's still bad. Bracken, 2-second decrease on his 1 at early levels, scales down to the same cooldown. It's good, fine. We don't. Bracken is still doing the same thing he's doing. Goomba got 5 extra damage on his 1. 5. Wow. Game breaking. Fafnir got a little bit of an extra heal on his 2. Whatever. Charybdis got a nice little buff. Whatever. Neath buff. Whatever. Eset. I actually experienced this buff. I played Eset earlier this week and had my ult at rank 3 hit for like 900. And I was like, what the heck? But they reduced the amount of damage that needs to occur in the circle to fully charge it. So it's kind of an interesting buff. Don't really feel it too much. These Tiamat and Merlin actually got significant buffs. Tiamat's the slow on her Minotaur is now a 40% slow for 2 seconds instead of that really harsh 80% for 1 second. She now consumes buffs at 50% HP at all ranks, and they reduced her 3 cooldown in both stances by 2 seconds early on. Still goes down to the same cooldown. So Tiamat got a lot of good buffs. I've played this character a few times since Season 11 dropped, and she feels very, very nice. Merlin, they did a similar thing that they did on Tiamat 3 to Merlin's ult. So he's got 2 seconds off at the beginning ranks, scales down to the same. So these characters just feel much better early. They lost the mage passive though, so they're still quite weak early, but you know, every mage lost it, so maybe you can play some more Tiamat and Merlin. I've been really enjoying them, but historically I just love playing those 2 characters, so it could be just like I'm influenced by that. I just find them fun, but they're definitely a little bit more playable than they were before. Guan, they reduced your 1 mana cost from 60 to 45. I've been playing a good amount of Guan, like I was talking about with that mystical build, so this feels good. He still has a lot of mana problems. Vamana, they increased the attack speed conversion he gets from his passive. That's physical protections to attack speed. He now gets a 15% conversion rate instead of 10. So, nice little buff. And 1 extra second on his ult. This character is super, super ult reliant, so this is actually pretty significant for him. He gets, what's that? 25% extra uptime at minimum. And at maximum, that's, what? An 1/8 more time, like 12.5% extra at minimum. So that's pretty good for him. I don't think he's coming back to the meta anytime soon, though. They buffed Osiris again. I've been playing the heck out of this god. I can show you guys a build for him that I've been having a lot of fun on in a later video. But this character is super strong right now. Omega strong. They increased the attack speed debuff on his 3 from 20% to scale from 20 to 30. And they gave him a 70-second ult cooldown instead of a 75-second ult cooldown because he really needed that. Who knows? Maybe next they'll reduce his 1 and 2 cooldowns back to 5 and 10 seconds instead of 6 and 11. No, I doubt this character gets buffed. He is very, very good. Definitely play Osiris. Odin kind of got a negligible buff, and Bake kind of got a negligible nerf. And that wraps it up. Fantastic. Hope you guys enjoyed this one. Big things to note from this video in terms of like items to definitely mess around with are Spartan Flag. Definitely try that guy out. Envenomed Executioner, definitely be building that. Void Domaru, huge. Void Shield, huge. Mystical Mail is huge. And then, is there anything else super significant? I don't think there is really. The Claws is kind of like a maybe. Both these words are good. Horrific, you gotta be building that guy. Thorns, you can definitely be building that guy. Not as crazy as Horrific, but Thorns is definitely powerful. And yeah, I think most of the things are still the same. Blink is just really good. It always was good though, so I mean that's not changing too much. I wouldn't overbuild Golden Shard because in Joust, especially the minions now, instead of those tanky minions we had on Chinese map, they're now squishy minions. So you don't really need very much to clear the wave. So instead of getting Golden Shard, you might as well get Wing Shard, honestly, because you just get a little bit more for the fight out of that. But yeah. Oh, and 500 pot. Definitely make note of 500 pot. Use this guy in Joust, please. Very good, very good. Or don't use it and get beat by people who do. Alright. That's going to do it for me, guys. Hope you guys enjoyed this little build video. Or not build video. Item review video and a little bit of God stuff too that we did for Season 11. These are my thoughts so far after the first week of playing it out. We'll see If my opinions change on any of these things in the coming weeks, maybe I'll have to make another video if something monumental happens and I'm like, oh my god, Crimson Claws is broken. We'll definitely make some more content covering that. But as it stands, that's how I'm feeling about year 11. Let me know what you guys are feeling, if you agree, if you disagree, if there's an item that I kind of glossed over that you're like, wow, that item's OP. Or something that I said is really OP that you're like, no, I'm not thinking it's going to be that good. I'm interested to hear your guys' thoughts on this stuff. Definitely don't forget to leave a like on the video if you did enjoy, and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already and you enjoy the content. And I'll catch you, as always, in the next one.